Chael Sonnen thinks Umar Nurmagomedov beat Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 311. Chael thinks Umar won rounds 1, 2, and 3. On his YouTube channel, Chael said, "I thought Umar won the fight. When they announced Merab, I thought there was going to be a lot of boos. I was alone. I thought they were going to give Umar rounds 1, 2, and 3. I think anybody would have agreed that it comes down to round 3. Rounds 4 and 5 were very clear. 1 and 2 were very clear. Do you agree with that? I can't come and tell you that Merab is the better fighter. That's not what I saw. Particularly if we're talking about being dynamic, if we're talking about being crisp, and we're talking about clean techniques, and that isn't an insult to Merab. It's just a reminder that in this sport, those matches will get to a point where better athlete, better martial artist doesn't always come in. It is a battle for 25 minutes of duration, of your ability to keep up." Robert Whittaker is not happy with Daniel Cormier. At UFC 308, Rob lost to Khamzat Chimaev via submission in the first round. Khamzat had Rob in a face crank, forcing him to tap immediately. Rob's bottom teeth literally caved in from the tightness of the face crank, and he said he could feel them in the middle of his mouth. Rob added that he's always had issues with his bottom teeth. Anyways, Daniel Cormier was the one who posted the photo of Rob's teeth to social media after the fact, without Rob's permission. Rob thought it was a scummy thing for DC to do. Here's what Rob had to say on the Ariel Helwani show.
Were you a little bit annoyed with DC for showing the photo of your mouth?
I was super annoyed.
Oh, wow. Why?
Dude, because it's such a scummy thing to do. It's like the doctor took a photo of my mouth, right?
Yeah.
And said, "I'm just going to go show Dana so that he knows what's up on the level." Dana and Hunter. I was like, "Cool, do that." And he went, and then DC took a photo off the other guy's phone to post all over socials. It's like, is that not scummy?
Anthony Smith reveals his retirement fight is going down in April. However, at the moment, the opponent is unknown. Smith says that win, lose, or draw, this will be his final fight. Smith just recently fought Dominick Cruz at UFC 310 and lost via TKO in the second round. He has won 2 out of his last 7 fights. Speaking to Ariel Helwani, Smith said, "Yeah, it's one more. Win, lose, or draw. That's going to be it. Yeah, the fight is already made. Yeah, no, the fight hasn't been announced yet, no. I do want to announce it, but I can't. You can't get fired on your last one. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll ask them if I can at least announce it on my own podcast. There we go. Yeah, the fight will happen in April. Yeah, it's more about the time and the place than the opponent. I wish the card was happening in Nebraska. That would have been cool." Anthony Smith also revealed that he recently asked Hunter Campbell if he could give Power Slap a shot, and let's just say Hunter wasn't a fan of that idea whatsoever. Smith said, "I tried. They told me no. Straight up. I asked Hunter and he told me no. He wouldn't even bring it to Dana. I don't know. He said no." Kevin Lee reflects on getting cut by the UFC. Kevin was cut right around the time Francis Ngannou was having a dispute with the UFC over his contract. Kevin and Francis shared the same manager, Markel Martin, who does not get along with Dana White. While in negotiations with Francis, Dana called Markel incompetent and suggested Francis get a new manager. Kevin Lee thinks that the UFC cut him out of spite because they thought he was one of the ones in Francis's ear saying negative things about them.
And I mean, I think I caught a lot of flack for taking up for Francis before that fight happened. And it was especially around the time that they were trying to take his heavyweight title from him. And I'm like, this is up, like it is. And I think the UFC kind of reflected negatively on me. Mm-hmm. If you remember, like the UFC cut me.
Yeah.
Right after the
Markel, and they kind of took it out on you.
Yeah. I think that they thought
felt
that
like it. You felt.
I think that they felt like I had something to do with that. You know.
Yeah.
I think that they think I was in Francis's ear, telling him like, "Oh, UFC," or I was in Markel's ear or something like that. It was never that. Like, you know, I'm hands off, especially with another guy's career.
Yeah.
Like I would never go to Francis and say like, "Oh, you should do this or do that." Who the am I? I would never go to Markel and be like, "Hey, you should do this and that." What, like, who the am I? I don't know nothing. I mean, I got my opinions about things, and I like to stand up for what's right. And when you got a guy who's clearly the heavyweight champion of the world and has bent over backwards time after time, it's like I look back and I'm like, you guys are gonna strip his title? Like, like you guys aren't gonna promote him in the correct way? Like, what are we doing here? So I kind of spoke up about that, and I think that negatively reflected on me. And when I lost that fight against D-Rod, I think they took that opportunity to be like, okay, let's prove a message to this team. Because at the time, Markel had me, Francis, and Khalil.
Yep.
And we were only the 3. And me losing that fight, they were like, okay, let's send a message. We're not around, and we'll show you by cutting a guy that we put a lot of money into.
Sure.
Cory Sandhagen explains why he believes Merab Dvalishvili has such good cardio. Cory posted a video to his YouTube channel breaking down Merab's win over Umar Nurmagomedov. Cory said obviously the decider in this fight was Merab's conditioning. I know the answer to it. I'm almost certain that this is what it is. It's that Merab, just because of the nature of who he is, the yelling that he does throughout the day, I think is what does it for him. Merab is always yelling. He's always yelling at someone. He's always yelling at fans. He's always doing something that's working those lungs of his. So I think that's what it is. That gives Merab this amazing conditioning. Cory also posted a video to his Instagram today campaigning for a fight with Sean O'Malley. Cory does not think Sean deserves the rematch with Merab.
Hey, let's be real. O'Malley has no business fighting Merab for an immediate rematch. He got beat up in the first fight. He's going to get beat up in the second fight. No one wants to see that fight. I'm not booked yet. I want to fight. I am so damn bored. I'll even give this fool as much time as he wants, the way that Aljamain gave him as much time as he wants. Just UFC. Make the fight that the fans want to see, which is me and O'Malley. Make it happen soon. I'm so
Dominick Cruz is set to make his UFC return after a 2.5-year layoff. His last fight was a 4th-round TKO loss to Chito Vera in August of 2022. Cruz is set to fight Rob Font on February 22nd. Rob Font recently did an interview with MMA Junkie and gave his thoughts on the fight. Despite Dominick Cruz being 39 years old, Font expects the best version of him. He went on to say, "I'm not banking on his age to get me through this fight. I'm expecting the WEC Cruz to come out there trying to take my head off. I do believe this is going to be one of the toughest fights I've been in for a while. He's a smart dude. I've trained with him before, and I can tell you he's smart. He was ahead of the game, most of the time, with his style. He's always studying the game. He's watching fights every weekend. He's studying for his job and all that, so it's not like I'm fighting some dude that's stuck in 2009. He's up to date with everything. This is going to be one of those types of fights that I've got to mature up and level up everywhere just to make sure I get this W. I would love to get in there, get my hand raised, have a beer with him, wait a couple of weeks, and then go back to training with him. I have nothing but respect for him." Aljamain Sterling gives his take on what Jamahal Hill should do next in his MMA career. Jamahal was TKO'd in the 3rd round by Yuri Prohaska this past weekend at UFC 311. Aljo thinks Jamahal needs to stay active and stay in shape. He also reveals he had a conversation with Jamahal recently and told him to not let the haters bother him and use it as motivation.
Maybe Khalil Roundtree should be fighting Jamahal Hill and they go from there. But I do think, I don't know what matchups are the most favorable matchups to give him his confidence back, where he can kind of get his feet back underneath him. But I think he needs to stay active, definitely take some time off. But I think he needs to make sure he's staying in shape. And I've expressed this to him too. Like, I think you can't let yourself get that big again, man, because it takes a toll, especially after an injury like that. It makes it harder for the weight to come back off. And of course, you're not able to train probably the same way. So hopefully he's doing the right thing, taking care of his body. He said he will be, and I truly do believe him. He wants to be where he believes he should be, and that's a man motivated. And I think a lot of people are going to be counting him out. And I told him, like, people are going to be chirping you. Bro, you got to be able to tune that out. I know you're fully capable of doing it. And just use it as fuel. Use it as motivation. But don't let it get you angry. Just use it as motivation. But that's my talk. My thoughts on Jamahal. But congrats to Yuri, because that was crazy.
Yeah, that was sick.
That was crazy. He's a super nice dude too, bro. What he did for that lady who had cancer, flying her out, like, that's cool. And the donation, Dana matched the donation. They don't always match a donation. I'm just like, yo, can you match my donation though? Like.
Renato Moicano says he's frustrated with himself for making such an amateur mistake against Islam Makhachev. Renato says that he heard the crowd start to boo after Islam took him down, which made him feel like he had to rush back to his feet. He says that he wishes he had more time to prepare. Go check out the full new episode of the Show Me the Money podcast. Links in the description.
On the ground, he was not really hurting me. He was not really punching. He was not doing too much. And then the crowd started to boo. They were booing, woo, woo. And then that kind of freed me, because I thought he's hurt. I have to get back on the feet and I have to hurt him. I don't want to lose the first round. And then I I rushed to trying to get back on my feet, and unfortunately he got a very tight position. I was very impressed with that, but I think I was not prepared, you know. I didn't have time to think through the fight, because if it was to kick, if I had lost the first round, doesn't mean in a 5-round fight, you know. But that was not in my head, because I didn't have training. I was not training. No excuses. Islam is a great fighter, but I just feel frustrated about myself making such a amateur mistake, you know. If I had stand up on the first round, that would be very good. Imagining being taken down, stand up, putting some pressure, that would mess with him, you know. And I was, man, that's what's up. Sometimes emotions, they change the way, because I really thought that God gave me the opportunity, you know. When I was sleeping, it was like God talked to me and said, tomorrow you're going to be champion. I was so, in my mind, that was like the perfect setup, you know. I thought, man, God prepared me for this moment for my whole life, so I let emotions go through. Next time I will keep my head on my neck, you know. I'm not gonna, because I don't know, everything was just too perfect, if you know what I mean.
Alex Pereira absolutely went off on an MMA journalist today, who recently interviewed Alex's sister Alini. For those of you who don't know, Alex's sister is also a fighter. She just competed in Karate Combat this past October and scored a TKO victory with the signature Pereira left hook. Alini did an interview with Guilherme Cruz, who is a writer for MMAfighting.com. In the interview, Alini revealed that she currently works for Amazon and hopes to start fighting full-time. She said, "I do deliveries for Amazon, and we do what we have to do. This routine is very tiresome because we still have to accommodate the training hours and the job, but it all works out in the end. It's not easy. We do deliveries for 4.5 hours, but it's great to be here. The United States is very good for me and my son too." MMAfighting.com reposted this interview to their Instagram, and Alex Pereira got some heat in the comment section. People are questioning why Alex wouldn't help his sister, judging by how well he's doing financially. Alex left a lengthy comment on the post. We ran it through a translator. It reads, "Brother, you almost turned off the recording after my sister said she was working. If you didn't have any malice, you would have asked if I could help in any way. But you knew if you prolonged the conversation, you know there wouldn't be a good article for you. But for people who are looking to win in life, it would be very important. I'm going to do an interview talking about this at the best time, and I'm going to talk about your attitude with the interviewees, and especially with my sister. You don't deserve to have this kind of work with this evil in creating discord and transmitting it to good people. I will reinforce in the video Dana White, and I'm going to get more behind the scenes insights with coworkers. If you like the media, then you'll have media. Shama." Alex then reposted his own comment on his Instagram story. Translation reads, "Bad character, piece of shit." Then he posted this photo of him and Alini. It says, "Question from any other reporter?" He ended it off with this photo. Translation reads, "Question from reporter Guilherme Cruz." And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's in reference to Bilal Muhammad going off on Kamaru Usman. It's from About Celery. It says, "I'm not a Bilal fan, but dude ain't wrong." The second one's from Jeremiah Jones. It's in reference to Sean Strickland trying to make a pact with Dricus du Plessis to stand and strike throughout their fight and not take the fight to the ground. It says Strickland telling a complete fighter to strike with him is crazy. And the final one's from Ryzen1. It says 10-8 by Bilal. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.